From the Voice of Wales on X, not guilty. The verdict is in. Royal Marine Jamie Micheal, on the charge of publishing videos or audio likely to stir up hatred, has been found not guilty. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a fantastic day, a great day. God bless it. And you know why it's a good day? Two reasons. First of all, an innocent man who was arrested for no reason and charged for no reason on political, trumped-up charges by authoritarian, Orwellian, lying sacks of rats that infest the Houses of Parliament. Well, he was found not guilty in a court of law, so that's one reason why it's a good day. And the second reason why it's a good day is because, as you all know, I'm only in a good mood when I'm very, very angry. And let me tell you, after reading the details of this case, I've got a rage boner that could poke holes through a reinforced titanium pillbox. Let me tell you, it's a shocking, disgraceful display of over-the-top, aggressive victimisation of a public servant who did serve his country, a Royal Marine, a working class lad, and the details are a damning indictment of the creatures that are stomping all over your right with their iron-shod boots on a daily basis. We've joked about it plenty of times on this channel. The likes of Keir Starmer and Angela Rayner, and indeed most of the Conservative Party, they act as if Demolition Man was a documentary, as if 1984 was a fantastic instruction manual for how to run a country. And in the United Kingdom, people have been talking about this for 20 years. Ever since Blair introduced changes to the Communications Act. Ever since then, people have been talking about it. The pub landlord, Al Murray, famously won a case about a bloke who made a joke about an airport, I'm sure you all remember it, and ended up getting dragged through the courts. Enough is enough. You are living under the heel of full-blown authoritarians. That's what's going on in the United Kingdom, and I can only say this confidently because I'm an expat. But before I go on a rant, let's get into the story, alright? I'll explain who we're talking about, what happened, and why you should never, ever, ever plead guilty in a British court of law. And I don't care if some woke lefty wants to jump in the comments and say, oh my god, who listens to a barroom lawyer? The system is broken. There was an incentive to plead guilty back in the day when they were actually trying people for genuine crimes. But in this day and age, if you get hauled across the coals for having an opinion that Keir Starmer and his authoritarian chums don't like, you're a maniac. If you hold your hands up and say, I'm sorry, I made a mistake because I was angry, because they don't care. Your protests will fall on deaf ears. It's been said many times of late, never apologise to the woke. And now the next caveat, never plead guilty to woke charges. Anyway, let's get into it. Right then, first things first, the BBC did cover his arrest. However, they obviously didn't cover the fact he's just been found not guilty by a jury of his peers. Funny old thing, they're not interested in telling you that half of the story. All it says is a 45-year-old man pleaded not guilty to an offence of stirring up hatred using images. It is alleged that Jamie Micheal posted a video of himself on Facebook entitled "This is what I believe." Newport Crown Court was told the video was threatening, insulting or abusive and intending to stir up hatred. Absolute nonsense. And thankfully, because Papa Elon bought Twitter, in 2025 you can actually go and watch the entire video for yourself. So you don't even need to take my word for it. I'll put a link in the description. If you can be bothered, watch all 12 minutes of it. And I guarantee you this, at the end of it, you will be staggered that a man was hauled through the courts for voicing his opinion in a way that political activist cult members didn't like. Oh, it's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. This is shortly after children were butchered like animals, and all he did was voiced his opinions in a way that 85% of the men in the UK, the ones that don't drink soy milk and have bones like a sparrow, it's opinions that those people would agree with, all right? There's nothing controversial about it. And dare I say, even if it was slightly controversial, he's entitled to his opinion. That's how the world used to work. You're allowed to be very left-wing, you're allowed to be very right-wing. Everybody agreed that you're not allowed to physically call for violence against groups of people, but he didn't do it. He voiced his opinion passionately, politely, and reasonably. And the fact he even got arrested in the first place is a national scandal. But we can't get that angry about it because we've known that this is happening on a daily basis for years. The only problem is Joe Normie doesn't care about it, and every political party in the UK, barring Reform, is in total lockstep because they don't like the great unwashed. They're the elites, don't you know? They're better than you are. You've got calloused hands and you do manual labour and you drink beer. Terrible. What you should do is drink expensive wine on a cashmere rug whilst eating French cheese and discussing the latest Guardian stories gleefully presented to you, packed full of lies by shit-for-brains, mentally ill walkists like Owen Jones and Afua Hirsch and Laurie Penny and a host of other people who anyone's listened to for more than 10 seconds wants to rip their own head off in a fury because the IQ's just dropped by 30 points. And there's a full post on Tony Romo's account that he was found not guilty, obviously, because like many people have been saying for a long time, you need to get in front of a jury in this day and age, because no jury will convict you of any of this stuff. But I do take umbrage with this because it's presented as it's a good thing. The case was a test of free speech and justice prevailed. This isn't good news. To sum up what happened to him, he posted the video, it was polite and reasonable, he got arrested, he was held on remand for 3 weeks, which doesn't happen to some of the worst killers and sexual deviants you can even imagine roaming the streets in the UK. And then he was dragged through the courts because the process is the punishment. Rowan Atkinson's talked about this, Al Murray's talked about this, dozens, definitely not hundreds, because you wouldn't find 100 people with integrity in the arts in the UK, but dozens of well-known actors and writers and comedians came out in support of this, demanding that we stop prosecuting people for ludicrous reasons.
My starting point when it comes to the consideration of any issue relating to free speech is my passionate belief that the second most precious thing in life is the right to express yourself freely. The most precious thing in life, I think, is food in your mouth. And the third most precious is a roof over your head. But a fixture for me in the number 2 slot is free expression, just below the need to sustain life itself. That is because I have enjoyed free expression in this country all my professional life and fully expect to continue to do so. Personally, I suspect highly unlikely to be arrested for whatever laws exist to contain free expression because of the undoubtedly privileged position that is afforded to those of a high public profile. So my concerns are less for myself and more for those more vulnerable because of their lower profile. Like the man arrested in Oxford for calling a police horse gay, or the teenager arrested for calling the Church of Scientology a cult, or the cafe owner arrested for displaying passages from the Bible on a TV screen. When I heard of some of these more ludicrous offences and charges, I remembered that I had been here before in a fictional context.
I'll put a link to the full speech in the description if you want to watch it. It's excellent, but it's old news at this point. That's what I'm saying. We all know this. It's almost boring talking about it. We know what the problem is. We know that it needs to get changed. It's time to start getting angry about it. The process is the punishment. There are now hundreds of people languishing in British prisons who shouldn't be. It is aggressive political persecution resulting in criminal convictions and jail time for innocent men and women who simply have an opinion shared by 90% of the country and only disparaged by liberal elites who know less than nothing. Keir Starmer, as far as I'm concerned, genuinely has committed treason. The man is locking up innocent women and children. He's basically Augusto Pinochet with a slightly more robotic voice and less personality. So to sum up, well done, Jamie. You've earned your freedom, son. I do actually know Jamie. I think we served together at 4-2 Commando. I definitely recognise his face. So, yeah, good to see a brother in arms released for a prison he should have never been in. He'll never get those 3 weeks back that he was held on remand. He's been victimised by an authoritarian state. The Communications Act needs to go. The idea that you can arrest people for something subjective, like causing offence, is preposterous on the face of it, and I hope, beyond hope, that somebody with a larger platform than mine just outright does what Trump and Musk are doing in the US and just do it. Just do it. All they say now, because they're in thrall of the civil service and the mainstream media, is, oh, we'd like to, but we can't. That's what Boris was like. Oh, I'd like to do it, but we just can't. I'd like to deport kiddie fiddlers that were born abroad, but we just can't do it. Get rid of them. Do it. Rip the rule book up. Dismantle Tony Blair's corrupt Supreme Court. It didn't exist 40 years ago, so it cannot exist next year as far as I'm concerned. Dismantle it. Rip up the Communications Act, roll all the laws back to about 1988, and let people talk. And if you have even a modicum of shame, hundreds of our MPs should be filled with disgust and self-loathing that men like that have been locked up in prison, while people like Axel Rudu Kanubu, with 10 arrests and 3 referrals to prevent, were free to roam the street and slaughter little girls. Our leaders are beyond contempt. If you have anything other than disgust and hatred and loathing for those people, the people that facilitated the mass grooming of tens of thousands of children and the mass slaughter of hundreds of people in dozens of major terrorist atrocities committed in England on their watch because they were too busy policing people like Jamie and not busy enough policing people like Salman Abedi and Micheal Adewabelawelo, or whatever he was bloody called, that gave Lee Rigby an unscheduled surgical procedure in the middle of the street, or Axel Rudu Kanubu, because they're not watching them, they're watching people like Jamie. You should be outraged and you should be angry. But that's just my opinion. Maybe I've got anger management problems, and maybe, just maybe, little girls being killed is not as big of a deal as working class Welsh lads having an opinion in public. Maybe that's the case. I mean, if you've got good arguments, please put them in the comments and I will read them, and then shortly afterwards discount them and you as a raving lunatic. All right, thanks for tuning in. See you all tomorrow. Toodle pip. Cheers.